Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning to learn a little bit more about the exciting upcoming events, Festival of Sail, Two Harbors Tall Ships 2022. I am Valerie Manasco Eliasen. I'm the Public Information Officer who is working with the Emergency Operations Center and the Planning Group. So pleased to be here and help communicate what's going to be happening. And we wanted to invite you this morning to share information. We know that there's a lot of questions. This is a big event. Summer is a busy season as it is on the North Shore. But we wanted to give you an opportunity to ask your questions as well as we head into the events. We've got our subject matter experts with us this morning. From the event side, Craig Samborski with Tall Ships. To my left, Chief Rick Hoganson. He is our incident commander on behalf of all of the public safety agencies. Interim Sheriff Nate Stadler, Lake County. Next to him, Matt Pullman. He's the Emergency Management Director. The emergency manager manages the Emergency Operations Center, so he has been a key part of the planning as well. Sergeant Tim Luoma with Lake County as well, and Assistant Chief Ken Anderson. So, as I said, we want to open it up for questions, but before we do that, we want to share a bit of key information with you around accessing the event site, parking, traffic, what you're going to see, what it's going to look like, how close you can get to the tall ships. We know that the Parade of Sail is always an exciting tradition at the opening of the festival. And I'll just start there and talk a little bit about that. The Parade of Sail is the official launch or opening of the events. So you'll see, and that is departing out of Agate Bay. Passengers will board around 10:15 a.m. That's the crew and the passengers who will be on board. And it will depart at 11 a.m., and that usually lasts about an hour. So from 11 to 12, you will see the fleet of ships. And when they moor again at around noon, that will be the official opening of the rest of the festival events. And that is taking place on, I believe I said, Thursday, August 4th. Now, around that, you will see a moving 100-yard safety zone. That is very important. The Festival of Sail, Tall Ships, has been designated by the United States Coast Guard as a marine event of national significance. So throughout the next few days, or next couple weeks, you're going to hear MENS, the acronym MENS, and that means Marine Event of National Significance. With that MENS designation, it requires several security measures to be implemented to protect both the attending public, the guests of this event, the event workers and volunteers, and the visiting crews and ships. So that is why we have so many public safety agencies involved. There has been a ton of planning over the last 8 months to make sure that we have plans in place to protect the community and to protect all of those involved in tall ships. So, you're probably going to hear this reiterated a lot today. We ask for people's patience. We ask for people's attention to all the event signage, as well as, following all the regulations that come along with hosting an event of this magnitude. So I was just starting to talk about the moving 100-yard safety zone. There will be yellow Bravo boats with flags, and those Bravo boats with the flags signify the perimeter, and they'll be moving along with the parade. No other vessels or boats can go beyond that 100-yard perimeter safety zone. And it is 100 yards during the Parade of Sail. However, when the ships are all moored, and in port, it will be a 25-yard safety zone at all times. So, the boat landing will be open and operational. However, we just ask that anybody accessing the waterways via boat respect that 25-yard safety zone. You won't see the Bravo boats and the yellow flags while the ships are docked and moored in place. However, just during the parade of sail. Parking has been one of the major items that have had to be coordinated and figured out for all of this. Just the volume of the event goers is significant. So what do we do with all that parking in a smaller community when it is our high season as it is? All of the parking has been designated the parking lots have been designated outside of city limits, and there will be convenient shuttles to shuttle event goers in. Included in your briefing package is a map that has the designated routes identified, as well as road closures and roads that will be operational as normal. As far as traffic signals go, there will be not changes to traffic lights. We don't expect to have additional red blinking temporary stop signs, but we do ask for extra attention for all traffic signals, as well as the officers who are going to be helping with traffic control. There will be public safety or law enforcement officers assisting with traffic. Again, to host an event of this magnitude, there will be additional law enforcement officers in the community from around the state who will be assisting with public safety calls, and Chief Hoganson can speak more to that. So, with some calls for service, it may be a law enforcement officer responding that you may not recognize, because we do need additional help. We also want to reassure the community, though, that public safety officials and law enforcement is dedicated to responding to all calls, despite having an event like this, and that's why we brought in extra resources for this. If there's instructions in your package there of the numbers to call should you have an issue that is event related or a complaint regarding the events, where to direct those. And as always, if there is an emergency, we still want you to call 911, and the appropriate response will be dispatched. We know that there is going to be questions and updates that need to be delivered throughout the events, and we want to be as accessible to the media as possible. So as your public information officer, I will be distributing an update every day at 11 a.m. Should there be an incident that requires, immediate communication, a release will be distributed, or an announcement or a public service announcement will be made if it is urgent. However, there will be a daily update issued at 11 a.m. My contact information is also included in there. If you would like access to any of the spokespeople, from the community or public safety side of the event, please don't hesitate to contact me, and I can arrange that for you. What we don't want is additional calls to dispatch, because we need to keep those lines open for public safety response. But I am more than happy to coordinate access to what you may need, and answer any questions for you. At this time, I think I will turn it over to Chief Hoganson, and he can speak to the law enforcement and planning side before we get to questions. Or did you have a question?
When you issue the 11 o'clock daily update, is that as an email or how all will we?
It will be email, and I'm circulating a sign-in sheet. So if you have, thank you for reminding me of that. That's one of the things I was going to point out. If you would like to receive that update, please make sure that your contact information is on the sheet, and you'll be added to my distribution list. So now I'll turn it over to Chief Hoganson.
Thanks, Valerie. Hello, everyone. About a week away from our big event, our big festival that our community will host, our entire county. And I guess I would just like to reiterate a lot of the things that Valerie touched on for everybody. There's a lot of moving parts and so many details when you bring this type of event to the city of Two Harbors or a community of this size. And I want to make clear to the Two Harbors residents and the event goers that their safety has always been at the forefront of our planning and strategizing, so this can be a safe and successful festival for everyone. Certainly an exciting time for Two Harbors. I'd be lying if there wasn't a little anxiety and nervousness, but I think we are very well prepared for this event. I cannot thank our area, local, regional, state, and federal partners that we've collaborated with for this event enough. Some of their insight, their knowledge, their experience with this event, and just being there to offer suggestions and look at things has been absolutely critical, I think, to our planning efforts. I think I can speak on behalf of myself and the Lake County Sheriff's Office and Lake County Emergency Management in the city of Two Harbors on that. We'll see what August 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th brings. It got here a lot quicker than I thought it would. 8 months, I think, is the number being thrown around out there. Certainly a short time frame to plan for something like this, but with the cooperation and a lot of discussion with the festival promoter, Craig Samborski, and his staff. We've agreed, we've disagreed, but I think in the end, both sides have really looked out for the best interest of Two Harbors, so I thank you for a lot of the discussion with him. And I know that he too has the best interest of Two Harbors and the surrounding area in mind. Exciting. It got here sooner, like I said, sooner than I thought, and I think it'll be over before we know it. So I do welcome August 7th to come, being honest, but certainly not a chapter I thought I would have in my book or my memories as Chief of Police for the City of Two Harbors, but I think thanking Assistant Chief Anderson, Ken Anderson, being right alongside of me the entire way. I don't think that I could have accomplished this without him, so both a pretty interesting chapter for both of us. And time will tell what the festival brings, and we've discussed at a lot of our other meetings, City Council, and updates through social media, and then a mailer sent out by City Hall with parking and traffic. A lot of questions. Our office is fielding those questions on a daily basis, people making suggestions and doing all of that. With our parking plan and with our traffic planning, I will just say the one thing that law enforcement officers are able to do very well is adapt. We have to remain fluid in this. So the map that's attached to your media advisory that's been released to the public, that's here to my right, certainly can be changed at any time. We are mindful of the residents and some of their parking concerns that they have. We try to answer those questions the best we can. So on that map, if something appears in red today, where no parking will be allowed, that could change throughout the festival. As far as traffic it relates, I guess I would compare it to maybe a construction zone, just asking people to slow down, be mindful of especially pedestrians and crosswalks. Our law enforcement officers that'll be at several of the intersections throughout the community. Be mindful of the road closures that will exist Most of those are on the 7th Avenue Highway 61 corridor. They will be clearly marked, a cooperative effort between Two Harbors Public Works, Lake County Highway staff, and then Minnesota Department of Transportation really handled a lot of that. So I'm guessing you'll see a lot of orange signage, posts directing traffic, and I guess in the end we're really trying, if you think about it, those left-hand turns that people will try to make at uncontrolled intersections will really slow down the traffic flow through the city of Two Harbors, so we are really trying to avoid those left-hand turns. If people are needing to make a left-hand turn on 7th Avenue, those will be done at 7th Street, at 6th Street or Waterfront Drive, and then again at 4th Street. So that will allow people heading north or northeast towards Grand Marais, Silver Bay, Beaver Bay, wherever they're headed that way, to use that turn lane to turn left at 7th Street if they like, at 6th Street, or at Highway 2, 4th Street. Those folks coming from the Grand Marais, Silver Bay, Beaver Bay area, coming south or southeast or southwest into town, those intersections, those same intersections at Waterfront and 7th Street will allow people to turn left and make it to the downtown area. So we will have road closures, some blockages, some local traffic only, streets designated, but all in all, it took a lot of thought, it took a lot of time. We're hopeful it works, and if we need to adapt, we will certainly adapt, as we do with many things. Again, I just state that the safety of the public and event goers is really at the forefront of all of our efforts. Yeah. Yeah, sure, Katya.
Just real quick, the sections, is that just for you guys, or is there anything we need to know about the sections?
Sectors.
So the sectors on the map really just help us with our planning and efforts and allocating our law enforcement officers to different areas so they know where they are supposed to go and what some of their responsibilities are. So just on the map to describe really nothing for the public on that side of things. So if we do need a quick response to Sector 4, those officers coming from our assisting agencies, all of which are from northeastern Minnesota, we put out a mutual aid request to our region, our Minnesota Sheriff's Association Region 2, which is northeastern Minnesota. So a lot of our partners, more than were needed, answered our call for mutual aid. So very, very appreciative of their response. So it just provides guidance. Any other questions, or I can keep commenting if people would like, or I can be available. Go ahead.
Do you have a number of how many law enforcement officers will be in the area during the festival?
We do have that number in mind. For safety purposes, I'm not going to release that number, but there will be more law enforcement officers present in our community than I think people are typically used to seeing. We do have plans in place for them to respond to different things. So we always prepare as though the worst is going to happen. And I think if something bad does happen, we are adequately prepared to respond. So. Yes, Brian.
The parking, Craig referred to this yesterday, but temporary handicap parking will be available. What does that mean, temporary? And I'm thinking particularly of a vendor who will need handicap parking at least to help stock the place with their things. But where is that, and what does the temporary mean? Just temporary for these 4 days, or is it just a certain length of time?
Okay, I can clarify the temporary handicap parking around our community, which will be located to the south of the community center and then to the west of the main sidewalk leading into the community center. So those several spots, and those handicap accessible spots will be available during the event dates, so August 4th through the 7th. Any real festival-related questions, I would defer to Craig Samborski and ask that he answer those. Regular handicap spots will also be available throughout the community if people need. And I'll touch on that again. But I think if you do have an emergency, please do call 911. It's kind of second nature for so many of us, but a good reminder. And if you do have a festival-related complaint or concern, somebody's trespassing on your property or somebody's parked in your driveway, a lot of those calls should be routed to a tactical dispatch center away from Lake County's main dispatch center, just to ease the call volume on the dispatchers and jailer that are present there. So if you do have a festival-related call, your call will probably be rerouted up to that dispatch center. If someone in the community needs to report a crime, is a victim of a crime, has a complaint that the City of Two Harbors Police Department would typically handle, we will be responding to those. Dispatch, Lake County Dispatch will take those calls and get those out to the proper people. Valerie touched on it. With all of the different agencies, they will be in uniform and identifiable. So if someone from the Duluth Police Department, Hermantown Police Department shows up, the first one to be there, just know that if you are reporting a crime or the victim of a crime, one of our officers from our department will respond, and we will conduct all criminal investigations that happen within our community. But we cannot do this without our partnering agencies. That is for sure. All of this planning we couldn't have done with the collaboration that we had from so many people. So very appreciative of them. Yes.
For the tactical dispatch, is that a non-emergency number or anything like that available besides 911?
Within the media briefing here, advisory, we would just put people to call 911 for an emergency, call the Two Harbors Police Department, which is area code 218-834-5566, or Lake County Dispatch, which is area code 218-834-8385. That gets you to their calling tree, and you'll hit 1. Those calls will then, from that dispatch center, be pushed to the other dispatch center, is the plan as I understand it. Questions for anybody else? Interim Sheriff Stat, Nate Sadler. Go ahead, Chris.
It's really for you, Valerie.
Yeah.
And hoping this does not happen, if there's an emergency that happens during the event and you're the sole source PIO, 2 questions. Mm-hmm. Are you being assisted by anybody in case you become too busy? That's my first question.
Yes, we have Joint Information Center. We call it a JIC, another acronym, but there are representatives from each of the agencies available to assist should that happen.
Okay, I'm asking for the media releases because the media would need to know who are the authorized individuals to release information. And my second question is, if there is an emergency, will you be releasing it as a verbal call to like the radio station? Or is your preference to do an email so we can quote you exactly when we broadcast it for the emergency?
The answer to your first question, I am your point of contact until, such an emergency should happen. And then at that time, we would appoint the appropriate person if they needed to take over for me or distribute information. We would send out an advisory letting you know who that person is and providing the contact information. And secondly, typically it would be an email, that has the appropriate information because we are working with your radio station as a community radio, as a partner to get out important public information. But we would distribute a media release with the pertinent information anytime there would be an incident. If it was in the middle of the night, we would likely make a phone call to make sure that we can access a person who would be able to then disseminate that information quickly, and we have that emergency contact information already.
Have you thought about a text free? Like when the county has emergencies, they do emails and texts that are easier to get a person's attention sometimes right away.
Mhm. Yeah, we still have that, is it Code Red here? Everbridge. We still have that capability, and that is one of our communication tools. Sh- Right. No. Right, but if you provided a cell number, I could distribute an alert that way. Any other questions regarding public information or how media can access the team? How about questions for any of our other participating agencies or regarding the festival itself? In the back?
Yeah, I was wondering in terms of for event goers, what kind of lodging accommodations would there be here in the Two Harbors area if they were coming from out of town and wanted to stay during the festival?
I think Loving Lake County would probably be a really good resource for that. There is, it depends on what their preference would be. I mean, there's campgrounds, there's hotels, there's cabins, there's short-term rentals. I think accessing those options through Loving Lake County would probably be the best direction I could give at this point. To my knowledge, there is not any accommodations that are directly set aside for the Tall Ships Festival. Katya?
2 questions. First of all, I'm just wondering at the break wall, is there any plan about a big old southwest wind? I'm just wondering, at some point you raise the, are the sales being canceled, or I don't know, or is there going to be, I don't know, I just want to know if there's a plan for a south.
Yeah, good question, because we know that the temperament of the Great Lakes isn't always calm, and Craig is probably the best person to address that.
Every vessel has their own captain, and the captains will make their own decision unless it gets so severe that the captain of the port, which is the Coast Guard commander in the area, would make a decision, perhaps changing what's called a MARSEC level regarding the ships and they not being allowed to travel or do sales. But it would take something probably like a northeaster, and not to say that won't happen, but it hasn't happened. If it was really rough out on the lake, the ships that are doing sailing experiences would do an alternative route, either through the harbor, over to Burlington Bay, or they'd cancel their sail, we'd refund the customer their ticket for sailing.
And if I could just, add to that, through all of our planning on the waterways as well, with the Lake County Sheriff's Office, the Coast Guard, the Minnesota DNR, Marine Unit, there are contingency plans in place in places for these vessels to moor in other locations close by and other places. So a lot of contingency planning in many different areas. We've tried to think as much as we can, so yes, we're all aware of that. As we look at the extended 10-day forecast, I think we're doing okay. We'll knock on wood and keep the 70-degree temperatures here so people can be comfortable. So a lot of contingency planning. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
Also, in our Emergency Operations Center, we'll also have representatives from the National Weather Service. So they'll be keeping track of the weather hourly, minute by minute, basically. So I just want to thank them as well. They're a huge partner.
And this is just another total nuts and bolts thing. I was thrilled to see new cleats along all today. Is there the rail? How do people walk down the steps? They go through that railing, or are they going to take down the
In
railing?
parts of it, yes. Other parts, there's gangways that go from the ship to the top of the center of the pier.
Okay.
Did you want to add to that, Chief?
Yeah, if I could. The whole water side emergency piece of it, we are prepared for on the water. Our Sheriff's Office and Minnesota DNR, Coast Guard, and those people are prepared for a water emergency, as are we prepared as far as the land side of things, and our law enforcement officers who will be present in and around the festival are prepared with life jackets, throw ropes, all of those contingency things and tools that we may need for that. So just another thing that we've put some thought into.
Yeah,
and Matt mentioned the Emergency Operations Center. The EOC will be activated throughout the duration of the events, and staff from all of the agencies who have participated, as well as the National Weather Service, the Coast Guard, myself, other staff, command staff, will all be working through the duration in the EOC behind the scenes.
Just one more.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just figuring you probably have the tickets by now, so like, do we have numbers of like how many people? I mean, I'm guessing we kind of know how many people are coming at this point, right?
At the moment, that'll be a different number in 30 minutes.
Okay. Is there anything you can say about the numbers? Like, okay.
No, I mean, this has kind of been my mantra all along. Like I said, 30 minutes from now will be completely different than it is right now. So saying, yeah, you know, we're at 5,000 people for Thursday right now, and at the end of the day today, we're at 6,500, and then everybody's like, well, wait a minute, yesterday you said 5,000, and I'll get a bunch of emails. So it's just not, it's not a good piece of information to give to you, unfortunately. And now is the time when ticket sales ramp up. You know, we're a week before the event, so that's when people are buying tickets. A lot of people buy in advance that have been to the festival before, but a lot of people are making their last minute decisions right now. So unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Is there a cap?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're gonna try and exceed 6,000 people a day for the event.
Any other questions? Either regarding the community and public safety or the event itself?
I guess regarding that cap, like, is there a way that will be enforced if there's a bunch of people coming through? How will that be checked?
They'll be turned away.
Okay.
We'll message out that it's sold out. We'll change our electronic reader boards to say it's sold out, and we'll put it on Facebook and Twitter, but Sunday we know never sells out. So Sunday I think will always be available. We're just gonna do it on a per day basis.
Regarding like people going up and down the shore, trying to maybe go around Two Harbors, is there like an alternate route that's recommended for people?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So working with MnDOT, Minnesota Department of Transportation, the State Patrol, Lake County, to go around Two Harbors is quite a drive, but a scenic one at that. So if you got time, I would encourage you to do it. But the lane, if you're going to Split Rock, to Beaver Bay, any of those places I mentioned before, that southerly or right-hand lane as you're traveling northeast is really remaining open for traffic. If you want to get through Two Harbors, that lane is going to be open as much as it can. We will have law enforcement officers at 4 of those traffic controlled, the light controlled intersections, and it'll be up to their discretion. If things are starting to get backed up, you may see them out in the roadway and like stop traffic from the north and let's get them through. So that'll be at their discretion, or coming from the Emergency Operations Center if we've got to get traffic through.
2 questions. First of all, is Highway 3 open now? Did they finish replacing that culvert? And is it to go through? And my second question is, what would the process be for getting a car removed that might be illegally parked or blocking during this?
Sure. So I guess your second question first for me. I'll let one of the Sheriff's Office representatives answer the Highway 3 question. We have not partnered, but have had discussions with our local tow company, and they are available. The community will have adequate and appropriate signage for these no parking areas. Our Public Works Department, along with the Lake County Highway Department, are going to be putting in a lot of lath into the ground and in certain places with no parking, temporary no parking signs. They'll be up within that time frame, which is 24 hours. You have to post it 24 hours before a vehicle can be towed. Everything should be posted prior to all of that. So if somebody does park in one of those no parking zones on a street or an avenue, we will do our best, as we always do, to try to locate the owner of that vehicle. But we certainly need to maintain our roadways for our traffic, pedestrian and motor vehicle throughout the community, as well as our emergency services and law enforcement vehicles. So we are prepared to tow vehicles and have an impound area.
So will the first call then to report an illegally parked vehicle or a vehicle that's blocking entrance to something illegally parked be that number to the Two Harbors Police Department?
It will, and a lot of our, or one of the main areas of responsibility that law enforcement will be monitoring our streets and avenues. So we hope to be very proactive, and if we see somebody like making that, like, hey, you can't park there, don't do it, you'll get towed. So we're hopeful we have enough that are out there to be able to do that and to be able to keep things going. And in the unfortunate event that somebody is towed, we'll work through that. So hoping no one is towed, that is not something we want to do, that is for sure. The Highway 3 part, I do know that 61 and Highway 3, you can get up Highway 3 there. They've got an opening in the construction area. I don't know if the culvert has been.
It's not to my knowledge.
So Highway 3, the culvert replacement is still, that construction is still happening. So they'll have to detour around that. Anything else for me? Anybody else standing here?
Where are you going on vacation on August 8th?
We'll probably have an after-action review to do. I don't think the work stops, but we still have a busy summer ahead of us after that. We all know how life is on the North Shore, but certainly looking forward to a couple days off at some point.
In the fall.
In the fall, yeah. I guess lastly from me, we really do have to rely and have relied on Craig and his staff, the Coast Guard, those folks in Duluth who have hosted this festival before. We certainly put a lot of trust into what they tell us. And we're learning if this happens again next time. And if it doesn't, we learned a lot for any future events that happen. So again, thanks to those folks who have hosted this festival before and offered guidance, and to Craig and his staff. Being honest and upfront and sharing the information that they have to share and their suggestions. So what are we? 7 days?
7 days.
7 days away. I've had a counter since
Ships are on their way.
like 153 days. I had it on my board at work, so.
Where would they be right now approximately?
That's a difficult question. There is, for people that are interested, I think it's on our website, there's a tracker, marinetraffic.com. I think you can plug in and see where they're at. I know several are going to get here early and not come to Two Harbors, but go to a couple other locations nearby where there's some friends and family at.
Very cool.
Well, thank you everybody for coming today. If you do want, one-on-one comment,
We will all stick around. And thank you for being partners in community information. We can't do this without you as well. And we want to say thank you to all of the residents of Two Harbors and the business community who have participated through their input in this event and who will be living and experiencing the events over the next week. So a sincere thanks to everybody and to all of the federal, state, and local partners that have been involved in coming up with a very well-planned event plan and keeping the community safe. So thank you for all you do. Thank you.